Coming up on Tekzilla, LA Noire. Is this just GTA with fedoras and better clothes? Android has a security problem. Netflix clogging our tubes. Some help with HDMI audio and audiophile sound cards, HD Nation, and more. So tap, rack, bang, people, because Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is made possible by Samsung Smart TV, a new world of web-connected TV entertainment. Go to Assist Express supports smarter with Go to Assist Express and Squarespace. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Tara Long.
Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or the biggest games of 2011, we've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we'll track down someone who does, like Tara. Robert's down in LA getting eyeballs on new HDTVs. Veronica's traveling, but after we kidnapped her cat, Destructoid's Tara Long agreed to join us today.
Thank you for having me. It was the least I could do after Veronica's 2.5-second cameo appearance on our show last week.
That's a good swap. So 2.5 seconds for Veronica. We get an hour review.
Yeah. Well, it was probably our highest rated episode of all time.
Cool.
I actually just made that up. I have no idea if that's true. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Destructoid, for anybody who doesn't know, it's a, aka Detoid. Destructoid video game show complements Destructoid.com, the awesome gaming website. What's coming up on Destructoid, the video, this week?
The video. Well, we've got a lot of PSN news about the hacking that's been going on with Sony and everything. There's a lot of controversy surrounding that. And big news of the week is the release of LA Noire, which just came out yesterday and is the hot new game on the market right now.
You're going to show off LA Noire for us.
I am.
I'm just curious. You've got a degree in math. You were on the faculty of the Virginia Bioinformatics Institute, and then you went into video game news.
Yes.
How does one make that? You know, I'm an English major who talks about technology, but it somehow seems like math major to video game. Actually, I guess there's a lot of math in video games.
Well, yeah, but I don't, make the video games. I just talk about them. I guess, like most things in life, it was kind of coincidental. I moved to San Francisco early last year, kind of in search of adventure, and I was working for the Virginia Bioinformatics Institute at the time, working from home, so I was telecommuting. And the project for the funding for our research project ended, and not long after I moved to San Francisco, I met Nero Gonzalez, who is the creator and kind of overlord of Destructoid, and I met him and became friends with a lot of the Destructoid community in San Francisco, because community is one of the big things that Destructoid is really, prides itself on. And Revision 3 had approached them to do a show about video games, and he thought I would be a good choice for it, and I said, hell yeah.
And it all came together.
Yeah, I'd always kind of been a gamer, in the background, but I'd never really thought about making a career out of it, but here we are.
Suddenly
I'm sure you have a similar but just as interesting story.
Mine involved a men's urinal, but
yes.
I don't want to get into that right now. I mean, consoles, PC, you don't care? I mean, what's your favorite gaming platform?
I'm an equal opportunity gamer, really. I play probably the most on my Xbox. I used to be a big PC gamer, and these days not so much. We also have a PS3 in our house, but it doesn't get nearly as much use as the Xbox.
So sad. So, PlayStation outage, has that impacted you at all? Thought much about how those...
Not really. I don't use PSN all that often. To be perfectly honest, what I use my PlayStation 3 most for is Netflix and stuff like that.
That's okay.
But a lot of people have been affected by it, and even people who weren't necessarily, didn't get their stuff stolen or anything, credit card numbers and all that, they can still get all the benefits that PSN is giving out. Like now, you get your choice of 2 games amongst a list of 5 for PS3 users. So.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the last episode. It's like, we're really sorry, here's some free stuff, don't leave.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this week they're suggesting that apparently it's easy to spoof the password changes. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. We got a bulletproof hard drive in house. Literally, they tell me I can shoot this with a gun. It's IOSafe's rugged portable. If you have any practical torture ideas for this, beyond the basic throwing and running over with the truck, fire them out to us along with any other tech questions you've got. Tekzilla at revision3.com.
In the meantime, let's talk news. It has recently been discovered that a whopping 99% of Android phones leak secret account credentials.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. That headline comes courtesy of the Register UK, but it's pretty typical of the usual frothing security coverage. Essentially, client login in Android 2.3.3 and earlier versions sends an authentication token in clear text. So if somebody snags that token, they can impersonate that user and access their Google Calendar and contacts and potentially other accounts. As if I really needed more people to know that I have no friends and no weekend plans.
You know, it's kind of, we should, you know, you're an Android user. I mean, we should point out, it's not like they're going to be able to impersonate you, like, you know, go to your favorite restaurant and
wear
get a
hat
table.
if you wear hats or something, not physically, but obviously.
But they'll be accessing pretty much all of your Google stuff on Android, in theory. I mean, have they even figured out, is there a total list of that stuff yet?
There actually isn't so far. Nobody's really published a list of all of the services that use it. But fortunately, there is a fix. With 2.3.4, the next version of Android is supposed to be, is supposed to have a fix for that. Unfortunately, a lot of cell phone providers like Verizon haven't even updated us to 2.3.3 yet. I'm still running 2.2.2, so who knows when.
Are you on Verizon?
I am on Verizon.
So the quick fix then is like, don't log into open routers that could potentially be spoofed to grab your authentication token to take over your life.
Yeah, that's kind of the homemade fix right now until the next update comes.
I mean, do you ever get frustrated as somebody who's like, you're on Verizon, you're not getting the update, Verizon, I'm looking at you, update the Android phones. Did you find that frustrating as an Android user?
I find myself constantly frustrated as a Verizon user and an Android user because actually I'm kind of begrudgingly an Android owner. I'm waiting, let's say I'm waiting till my contract is up to switch to the iPhone, although I guess I don't have to now that iPhone's on Verizon. So
that's true.
I just have to scrape up the money first.
First, the contract, well, yeah, yeah, upgrading phones always sucks, I think, even if you upgrade to a better phone. Yeah. I mean, do you think people should be hitting the panic button at this point?
It depends, I guess, on how popular you are. If you think there's a lot of people out there, you know, liable to spoof a local router and gain access to your information. But chances are slim, I would say, but not completely out of the dark yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, it's kind of, if anybody actually has a list of the full list of the devices that actually use the client authentication, feel free to forward it to us. Because I'm curious, like, you know, does that mean that you get I'm much more terrified of like somebody being in my Gmail than I am of somebody being in my, like my calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to the playground on Sunday. Big information. Video is definitely clogging the tubes. Sam Vine's Spring 2011 Global Internet Phenomena Report, which is an awesome title, says as of March 2011, 49.2% of peak period traffic is, quote, real-time entertainment, as in streaming video. 29.7% of peak traffic, more than a quarter of all traffic on the internet's at highest. It's crazy. Netflix is 29.7% of peak traffic on the internet. Yeah. So like more than half of all real-time entertainment on the internet is Netflix.
Yeah, that's surprising actually. Even HTTP web pages only take up like what, 18.4% of traffic? So, I think YouTube falls behind at 11%, and then BitTorrent slowly behind that with 10.4%.
Yeah, I mean, upstream traffic though, BitTorrent accounts for over half of all traffic, which is so.
So are people uploading more than they're downloading? Is that what it says?
I think just most people don't upload anything.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny because
leave it idle.
BitTorrent is half of all uploading traffic, and then all internet uploading, like all HTTP uploading, is like 18%.
Wow.
So I guess like there's just people that are constantly running BitTorrent, and most people don't upload much of anything. You know what I mean? They upload email, they upload a file or some pictures.
Yeah, that's true. I guess most files you would upload would be smaller than, say, a movie or something.
Yeah, but as more people upload movies, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be interesting to watch what's going on with that. Yeah. And you saw the news from Intel.
So Intel says there's going to be 2 versions of the Windows 8, one for x86 and one for ARM. So the version for regular Intel CPUs will have a Windows 7 mode to support older apps and data, while the ARM processor version will be all about the tablet experience with no legacy OS. Microsoft and Intel, they so want to be in your cell phone right now.
I think they're probably terrified that most of the world is going to experience the internet and therefore computing through a cell phone.
Yeah, and it's the way things are going. Yeah. They just got to deal with it.
Well, I'd also like a 10-hour Core i7 processor and an iPad, but I have Dreams. Normally we open up with a viewer question, but we're going to talk about one of the biggest games of the bird. I was sorry, I was going to make an Angry Birds joke. LA Noire, you talk. I'll just sit here and try to remember how to speak.
Big news of the week, just released yesterday, and if you're asking yourself what the heck that has to do with technology, the answer is more than you would think. Just to give a bit of background info on the game, I'm sure you guys have probably seen commercials. They're advertising hard right now.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it is pretty. The game is set in a post-war 1940s Los Angeles, and you play as Cole Phelps, an LAPD detective who's trying to move up in the police force. So in order to do that, you've got to tackle a number of cases involving everything from traffic violations to drug charges to homicide cases. So what's interesting about this game is that it uses this brand new technology called motion scan and actually incorporates it into the gameplay. So instead of using 3D rendering software to generate characters, which is usually how it's done in video games, they use real actors, some of whom you'd probably recognize. They've got Aaron Staton, the guy from Mad Men, in there, and Michael McGrady from Southland, a whole bunch of famous faces. And while they have them sit in this huge white room with all these bright lights, and there's 32 different cameras placed all around their head. And basically the cameras capture every subtle movement or facial expression that the actors make as they're saying their lines. And it's a huge undertaking, obviously, you know, when you consider all the equipment that you have to do. You have to pay these actors to sit for hours on end, and this takes, you know, months and months and months, because this is a game that's been in development for 7 years now.
So basically, it's not like, you know, the suit with the little red LEDs and motion tracking.
No,
they're
it's not
actually
like that.
Physically grabbing full video.
Yeah, they're creating basically what could be considered a perfect 3D rendering of somebody's face. They don't do the body, because that would be, I imagine, like 10 times as much work. But the facial animations are really what's more important for this game anyway. And the way it fits into the game is that you've got to be able to tell when suspects or witnesses that you're questioning are lying or not, based on you know, based on clues like if they look away when they answer you, or you know, you say that people who touch their face a lot are lying. Things like that, and that's how the motion scan technology gets incorporated into the gameplay, and it turns it into basically kind of an unreal experience, like nothing you've ever seen in a video game before.
So it's definitely not GTA with better clothes. I mean, you're running around a city, you're doing stuff, but this is an actual story arc rather than an open-ended
There are
game.
some similarities, I would say. They were both created by Rockstar, which has a track record for making excellent games. You know, they did Red Dead Redemption, which was probably Game of the Year last year. They also did GTA. So I would say that this game is a little less open world than GTA was, because it has a slightly more linear storyline. You know, there's just kind of one main quest. Not so many side quests that you're going to be doing, but it is a 30-hour game in total, just with the main quest. So it's going to take a lot of time to do it. And Rockstar really, they're not afraid to, you know, incorporate dark themes into a lot of their games, which I think is perfect.
They're also not afraid to do table tennis, though, which is what's so awesome and kind of freakish about Rockstar.
I'm really looking forward to this. It just came out yesterday, but I picked it up and I got a couple hours of playtime, and it's just fantastic. It's really, really great.
Think it's going to be Game of the Year?
It's hard to say at this point, especially me not having finished the game yet, but I think it'll definitely be a contender. There's so many good games this year. We've had Portal 2, which Destructoid gave a 10 out of 10. We gave LA Noire a 9 out of 10. And even towards the end of the year, there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff coming out. We've got Battlefield 3, which is using an all-new physics engine that's supposed to look, you know, amazing.
Like real.
We've got Skyrim, which viewers of our show are infinitely excited about, and Batman Arkham City also. That's another title that people are looking forward to a lot.
The other three I'm familiar with. What is Skyrim all about?
Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. It's kind of, it's a lot like World of Warcraft, if you're familiar with that.
I was going to say you lost me at gnomes, but whenever I say something like that, I get nasty email. RPGs are cool. I just like to sleep at this stage of my life. World of Warcraft is scary. Hey, we got to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, Go to Assist Express. I'm here to tell you about a tool that will help you save time and money and make you look like a hero to your clients, your colleagues, or your mom. Go to Assist Express by Citrix, and it lets you easily resolve computer issues in real time or after hours. You can even work while your customers are away from their computers, which is going to dramatically boost your productivity because you're not waiting for Bob to get back from lunch again. Matter of fact, on average, Go to Assist Express users report a 40% increase in productivity. That's like getting 2 extra work days back a week. You're a Tekzilla viewer, right? Well, we got a free offer for you. Go to Assist Express free for 30 days. You want to check it out? You want this special offer? Visit gotoassist.com/Tekzilla. That's gotoassist.com/Tekzilla for a free trial. Please support Tekzilla by supporting our sponsors like gotoassist.com/Tekzilla, but Express is the product. Check it out, people. Time to get our HD Nation on this week, made possible by our sponsor, Samsung Smart TV. And they want us to remind you about Samsung Smart TV apps. What do we mean? Applications you can see right on the TV, let you do all kinds of things. Mr. Heron has picked out the your favorite 3 Samsung Smart TV apps.
Definitely. 3 I would load up on a TV if I actually owned it. Yeah, which I hopefully will soon. Anyway, let's start with Home Eye Exam for 99 cents. If you've ever wondered if watching a TV, well, it's bad for your eyes, well, Samsung has an app for that, apparently. Let's drill down here to the Eye Exam app. Boop. This is a fairly basic application. We'll just do the self-test, but they also had a kids test as well that the parent actually operates the remote control. And
that's pretty funny.
I thought that was kind of neat. So we're going to test your right eye first.
5.
And I'll hit the 5 button. You press the button on the
5.
remote. Yep.
3, 4, 3, 3, 0, 0, 2.
You are fast.
5, 2, 9.
Left eye time.
9.
Oh, hit the start button. 9.
0, 2, 9, 2, 0, 6, 7.
Oops.
2, 6, 2, 7, 2.
Nice.
I used to have 2010. I don't know if I was far away enough.
On a good day, I'm about 2013. So. And next up, something called Dashwo. It's a free information app, as in no cost at all, from the Samsung App Store. This one I dug because it incorporates a few pieces of information that I tend to look up every single day. Basically, one being,
what day is it?
What day is it? What's the weather like? And what's the traffic like?
And it's like, wait, why do you have Korean kanji for the cities in I'm like, oh, Samsung, Korea.
It kind of, at least it incorporates English text as well, but it is giving this with Korean titles for all the cities as well. It is providing, I believe it's using Google, in which you can actually pan the map around if you need to. And you can zoom it in and out with all the number keys. You can just hit different, and it'll, how much zoom do you want for the Bay Area?
880 is red.
Where I'll be driving soon. Don't take that way. This is exactly what I use it for. It's like, which route should I take? I have 2 different ways I can go home. I like it. Now, the weather's pretty basic, the time's pretty basic, but the fact that all 3 are in one menu is pretty much what attracted me to it. That and the fact it's free.
Is it a work day? How should you dress? How awful is your commute going to be?
That's why I like this app. Now, if you're into geek craze, more detailed weather information, it turns out that they actually have access to a couple of AccuWeather.com's weather apps. They have a free version and a paid version. If you're into this weather stuff at all, skip the free version. It really was kind of disappointing.
Drop the cash.
It's really rudimentary. This one, it's pretty basic. For $3, you get the full-blown version of added San Francisco. This incorporates not only alerts as well as, just in case anything, you can also do weather by time to see, oh, what's it going to be like in an hour. And it's, in case you can't tell, it's crazy rainy here right now. Satellite, probably one of my favorite things. It's just a satellite view to see what the rain systems are doing, what cloud cover, snow cover is doing right now. It's snowing and raining all over California right now. Isn't that kind of cool? The one thing it doesn't have is that this isn't animated like some other websites I see that provide that info. That'd be about the only thing I'd really like. Oh, apparently there's some alert for us as well, telling us to run. Half an inch of rain so far, 0.6 inches of rain on a Monday. Not bad, not bad.
Weather alarms.
And other than that, I'm kind of waiting to, where's the Revision 3 app though? That's really what I want to see.
We're working on it.
It's coming soon.
Back off, man.
Okay.
Our developers are typing as fast as they can.
Excellent. Cheddabretta, gotta love this.
Hi! I was wondering if the Ceton Infinity TV4 works with Australian pay TV. It's called Foxtel. Also, if it works with free-to-air. You actually talked to Ed.
Over at Ceton, they actually sent a response to this very question, because I was a little curious. You'd think that cable systems would be compatible around the world. Guess what? They're not. It turns out that they said the short answer is no, according to Ed at Ceton Corp. He says, I'm afraid the cable systems outside of the US and Canada use different sets of technologies and technical standards for delivering TV services. It would require a different version of our technology to work in other markets like Australia and with those other technical standards. It is possible that they will introduce a product for international markets at some time in the future, but right now our focus is on the North American cable customers. Sincerely, or signed sorry in this case, Ed. And so the Infinity TV4, at least for the time being, is for use in North America only, and it's not designed to receive free over-the-air broadcasts either, if you're looking to do that. It's strictly a cable, digital cable tuner.
But you could do that with a Windows Media Center with an external over-the-air tuner.
Totally.
Yeah, so it's not that big a loss. Oh, actually, and we should talk about there's a new product from Silicon Dust, right?
Yeah, actually, it's Silicon Dust's new, or at least announced, the HD Home Run Prime. Finally, some competition, at least on the horizon, for the Seton Corp's Infinity TV4 digital cable tuner. The HD Home Run Prime is definitely on our radar. We're requesting one for review. And I just have to say a shout out and thanks to @Rob Herring, Isaac from Durham, North Carolina, Steve from Middleton, Michigan. Yes, and John from Astoria, New York for the heads up. They all threw down and said, hey, when are you going to look at this? When?
As soon as we can get it in our hands, which took several months. You actually ordered, you purchased the Infinity TV4, and then it showed up about 8 months later.
This one seems, at least they're taking the pre-orders soon for the main product, and hopefully they'll be shipping soon thereafter. So hopefully we're not going to be waiting months like last time.
That would be bad.
Definitely.
Joey from Houston, Texas has an email for us. He says, like you, I'm using and loving a home theater PC running Windows 7. What is your recommendation for the best lean-back browser? I know I can scale up the actual web page I'm viewing, but this does nothing for the size of the back button, address bar, search bar, tabs, etc. Yeah, they tend to look a little pixelated if you just blow them up. Doesn't matter if it's Firefox, Chrome, IE, whatever. I just want the controls to be larger than desktop scale from about 10 feet away on my 54-inch HD TV. So,
there's a couple of things. And I just basically would take a cue from our recent discussions about Windows keyboard shortcuts. The Windows key plus the plus or minus keys on the keyboard is a great way to just turn on or off the magnifier that's built into Windows.
Right.
And that will not only
plus.
Totally, or maybe just once, because that'll do a 200x or a 200% increase in zoom. And that will not only magnify the text on the screen, but also all the icons and the bars of the browser itself. Everything on the screen will be magnified, not just text, which is really a key for a situation like that where you're sitting a few feet away and you don't want to get up or get closer to the screen just to see something small on the screen, yet you want a quick way of accessing it. And I think the Windows key's about one of the best solutions there is, and it's built right in. If there is a better way of doing that, I would love to hear about it. Of course, you can always email us at tekzilla@revision3.com. I can't,
because I haven't seen anything
like
like Windows
for
Media Center specific like browser plugins or anything like that.
I'm willing to bet they might have something there too.
I'm gonna take another look. So I haven't seen anything, but it's a big internet, and there's a lot of places to search.
Definitely.
Blu-ray releases?
I think so. I think now it's time for the new Blu-ray releases for the week of May 24th, 2011. First up, the 25th anniversary edition of Platoon. This 1986 Oliver Stone film stars William Dafoe and Charlie Sheen, among others, and follows a group of soldiers in the Vietnam War. This release comes in an MPEG-4 AVC codec, a 1:5:1 aspect ratio, a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 soundtrack, and even includes a DVD copy as well. Extras include 2 audio commentaries, one with director Oliver Stone, and one with actor/military advisor Dale Dye. You'll also get deleted and extended scenes, 3 featurettes, 2 documentaries, 3 vignettes, and 4 TV spots. Next up, Solaris. You might be familiar with the 2002 George Clooney film, but we're talking about the 1972 Russian film by Andrei Tarkovsky. And because this is a Criterion release, you know it's going to be a great transfer. It's been completely restored with a 2:35:1 aspect ratio, an uncompressed Russian mono track and English subtitles. Extras include an audio commentary by 2 Tarkovsky scholars, 9 deleted scenes and alternate scenes, interviews with the lead actress, cinematographer, art director, and composer. You'll also get an excerpt from a documentary about the author of the book that the film was based on, and a booklet with essays by critic Philip Lapat and one by Akira Kurosawa. Next up, Papillon. This 1973 film based on the memoirs of a French criminal in the 1930s who was wrongly convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. It stars Steve McQueen as the title character, as well as Dustin Hoffman. This region-free release comes in digibook form on a single BD50 Blu-ray disc. The picture is presented in a 2:40:1 aspect ratio, in an AVC MPEG-4 codec, and a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 soundtrack. High Def Digest reports that the opening 20 minutes of the film were disappointing, but the rest of it was magnificent, truly spectacular, and the release, quote, maybe one of their best achievements of the year so far, unquote. Extras are the same as the 1999 DVD release, just a trailer and a 12-minute behind-the-scenes produced when the film was originally released. And as always, check out our show notes at Tekzilla.com or hdnation.tv for the rest of this week's Blu-ray releases.
It's time to thank one of our sponsors, Samsung Smart TV.
Discover a new world of web-connected TV entertainment with Samsung Smart TV. Samsung Smart TVs allow you to easily search for movies, TV shows, browse the web, explore Samsung apps, chat with friends, and find many other types of new interactive TV content. That's the wonder of Samsung. It's got an ultra-slim bezel design, which means you'll get a virtually edgeless picture. With a reduced bezel, the viewing experience is truly immersive and takes TV to the edge. Samsung continues to lead the way with innovative designs, so check out samsung.com/smarttv for more information on the different models.
Hey, we got this email from Michael Cunningham, who wrote, "Is a sound card needed with an ATI 5670 HD? It has HDMI output and a 7.1 sound. I also have a Sound Blaster X-Fi Extreme sound card. Am I losing any sound quality or extras by just using the video card? I have my computer connected to my surround sound in the living room and my 40-inch LCD TV. The sound works great on movies and games. Fallout is in 5.1 and sounds great. Even older games like Doom 3 work. Does the sound card improve performance? Is there a sound card that does HDMI? If so, what sound card would be best?" First of all, Fallout, excellent choice. Secondly, you shouldn't be missing any sound quality or extras by using the video card to pass through your audio, since you're just passing bits over the cable. There are HDMI sound cards, and I'll let Patrick geek out on that in a second, but the cool thing to note about HDMI is that it passes audio and video over the same cable, which means that really it's just one less cable for the cat to get caught up in between the HTPC and the HDTV. So, while you can buy an HDMI to pass through sound cards like the Asus Zonar HDAV or the Ozon X-Fi Home Theater HD, you really don't need one anymore. Of course, this is all assuming you've got a surround sound receiver that accepts HDMI input.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of sound cards, right, is to take digital bits and convert them into an analog signal that your amplifier can boost before it goes to your speakers. This is a Asus HDAV. A lot of early GPUs that supported HDMI video didn't support audio over HDMI, as you've experienced with your 5670. Most of the new cards do support audio over HDMI. If your GPU supports HDMI 1.3 or higher, it should even push Dolby, True HD, and DTS HD bit streaming natively over HDMI. Earlier 1.1 compatible cards kind of supported True HD and DTS, but they converted it to like a linear PCM format before it went over the HDMI cable. And a matter of fact, the 1.3 compatible cards had issues until drivers that kind of came out sometime last year. Really, make sure your drivers are up to date. For full True HD and DTS HD support, I want to say an ATI it started with Catalyst 10.4. If you're using like a stereo receiver that only has analog audio inputs, the old RC Ajax, a sound card would definitely be necessary, at least if you feel the quality of the audio on the motherboard sucks. If I rebuild my desktop machine to get better analog audio out, probably go with John Atkinson of Stereophiles. Well, Stereophile.com, Stereophile Magazine. He is in love with Asus's, I can never say it, the Asus Zonar Essence ST or STX sound card. They're going to run about $200. The ST is for PCI machines, the STX is for PCI Express boxes, or just keep using my current external digital to analog converter or Choice Headroom's Micro DAC. By the way, if you're building a home theater PC, definitely check out the AVS Forum's Guide to Building a Home Theater PC. Lots of good info on what parts to buy. AVSforum.com is epic and a little frightening in its intensity sometimes. Would you like a pass-through HDMI audio card?
Sure, thanks. My birthday's coming up. Not really.
Just what everyone needs. Rusty's got a question. He says, I've got a 15-month-old Core 2 Duo iMac with 4 gigs of RAM. I just ordered another 4 gigabytes of RAM. Obviously, the OS will need to boot into 64-bit mode to address the new RAM. 1, is OS 10 10.6.7 smart enough to do this automatically? 2, if not, how do I mod the system preferences to boot into 64-bit automatically? 3, is there an easy way to figure out what will break when I shift from 32-bit to 64-bit? 4, will my Parallels to Windows XP 32-bit install get hosed? Love the show, Rusty in Stafford, Virginia.
I can take this one. Why
Excellent.
not? I know tech.
Because I have no idea what the answer is.
So, Rusty, the thing to remember here is that OS X is not Windows. So a lot of limitations that you see with 32-bit Windows, like memory, don't necessarily apply here. That means that even in the default 32-bit kernel mode, Snow Leopard and even earlier versions of OS X can see more than 4 gigabytes of RAM. So you don't need to boot Snow Leopard into 64-bit kernel mode to address the extra RAM. In fact, unless you're absolutely sure that all of your apps will function in 64-bit kernel mode, you should probably just leave things as they are. including parallels, because depending on the version, you may or may not have success getting them to run in 64-bit kernel mode. If anyone out there has experience with running 32-bit Windows and Parallels on a Mac booting with the 64-bit kernel, let us know. Shoot an email over to tekzilla@revision3.com and we will answer your question. In the meantime, if you need to see what 64-bit kernel mode is like, reboot your machine. Once you hear the startup tone, hold down the 6 and 4 keys simultaneously and then keep holding them until you see the desktop or login window. To verify if you're actually in 64-bit kernel mode, go to the Apple in the menu, click on About This Mac, and then click the More Info button. Scroll down the list on the left and select Software, and the info pane on the right should say Yes or No next to the 64-bit kernel and extensions entry. If you want to make it permanent, you have to edit the apple.boot.plist and make some entry changes, but more detailed instructions on that can easily be found with the click of a Google.
Cool. Coming up, we got viewer responses and one more email question right now, though. I want to thank one of our sponsors, Squarespace. They offer anybody and everybody a flexible tool if you want to create a blog, a personal portfolio, or any kind of website. And it's not just a tool to create the website, it's hosting, it's all wrapped up in one, and it doesn't really matter how much coding you know how to do, because Squarespace has tools that make it easy to create a high-end, complex website that is uniquely your own without having to pay somebody else to code it up for you. And don't worry if you got any questions, 24/7 support is offered to every single Squarespace user. We know a ton of you guys have signed up and built your sites with Squarespace. Now we're looking for your questions and your tips about Squarespace. Email your questions and tips about Squarespace to squarespace@revision3.com for a chance to have your question answered or your tips shown off in a future episode of Tekzilla. Hey, if you don't already have a Squarespace site, check out squarespace.com/Tekzilla to get a free 2-week trial offer and to learn a little bit. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode of Tekzilla.
We've got another Mac question. Stefan wrote in, I'm currently considering purchasing my first Mac. My problem is I'm uncertain as to whether I want a MacBook Pro or an iMac. I'm a video editor and I would like some help deciding. I like the portability of the MacBook Pro, but I prefer the iMac's larger screen. Love the show.
Hey, look, do you want to travel with your editing studio? Then your choice is the MacBook Pro, and you can connect it into a larger monitor when you're at home. I mean, the funny thing about the iMac is it is essentially a MacBook Pro stuffed inside a bigger monitor. It's really nice for editing video, which you have kind of already figured out. An entry-level MacBook Pro, 13-inch monitor and a 2.3 gigabyte Core i5 GPU. I think it comes with 4 gigs of RAM. Starts at $1,200. You can upgrade it to 8 gigs. An entry-level iMac has a 21.5-inch 1920 by 1920 by 1200 monitor, 2.5 gig Core i5 GPU, an AMD Radeon graphics, and 4 gigabytes of memory. Notice something? They're the same price, but one has the bigger monitor and the same GPU, or actually say the same CPU. Both the 15 and 17-inch MacBook Pros can be procured with Core i7 CPUs, starting at $1,800 and $2,500 respectively, given the monitor size. For $1,700, you can pick up a 27-inch Mac or an iMac with 2564 by 1440-inch screen, a Core i5 CPU. The Core i7 is going to run you up to $1,900. Which is nice because it adds in hyper-threading, but man, there's not a real huge advantage. You get better GPU on less expensive iMacs, and a bigger monitor, and that's pretty much the only advantage.
I do video editing on my 13-inch, and it works just great. You know, it's more portable, and that's kind of the #1 thing for me. It's a Mac, so it's going to be powerful either way. You know.
Well, unless it's an older.
Well, yeah, but a recent one.
Is my little 4-year-old Core 2 Duo iMac around here anywhere? It's gone again. Maybe it's been stolen. I can get a new one. But yeah, I mean, I would tend to say buy the notebook and get an external monitor when you have the cash.
Yeah.
Unless you have no cash and can't afford both a notebook and an external monitor, in which case the iMac would give you a bigger monitor for less money. Dude, it's your pocketbook, you can decide. John wrote in, hey Tekzilla, I wanted to respond to both of your suggestions to the writer who asked about balancing sound quality with file size on a new Windows Phone 7. I would recommend the 256 kilobit per second AAC, which works on Windows Phone 7 and iOS devices. AAC provides a higher quality equal bit rates to MP3, so a 256 kbps AAC sounds better than a 256K MP3, and the resulting file size will be considerably smaller, providing the best balance between file size and fidelity. Love the show, John in Providence, Rhode Island. Okay, so basically, like, we had a viewer who was like, it was their first portable digital device. They'd never ripped any of their CDs to their computer before. I just said to stick with like Windows Phone 7, and people freaked out in the audience. Like, how could you say, you know, use the Windows Media Audio format because it's not going to work with anything other than Windows Media Audio devices? And as John pointed out, we still have additional options for. There's just so many encoding options out there. But yeah. I don't hate AAC. I think actually a 256 is probably indistinguishable audio quality-wise from MP3, but it should be smaller for the same resulting bit rate, which makes no sense. That just means it's being compressed more.
I converted a bunch of my MP3s to AACs once before, and it made them all bigger files.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Re-encoding.
I just suck at computers, apparently.
No, I don't know. It depends on the application you're using to do the transfers.
I was using iTunes.
Yeah, iTunes just wants you to turn everything into something that's, you know, protected and tied to your machines, and then it wants to erase it so you download all the new music from the iTunes store. That's, by the way, a joke and not something I want to be sued over for being humorous.
JD sent us this heads up about last week's show writing. He says, in the May 12th show, Veronica talked about iMovie 11's support of AVC HD Lite for viewer Kate. It sounds like you're saying iMovie is limited to 720p 30 frames per second, which is incorrect. It is possible that AVC HD Lite has been added to iMovie 11 as a new feature for devices that only use it. Even iMovie 09 has no problem supporting and editing 1080i 60 frames per second 16-bit video in AVC HD format from my Sony HDR SR12 that is years old. Heck, it even exports edit decision lists and XML to Final Cut Pro. JD from Detroit.
You are correct, JD. Despite our internal issues with iMovie 11 and AVC HD, iMovie 11 now supports AVC HD Lite, and some earlier versions of iMovie will support importing the older fat AVC HD from supported camcorder models. But sorry,
Were you gonna?
No, I was just like. Yeah, I have not personally purchased iMovie 11, but I remember Roger and I throwing things one day when we were trying to get AVC HD to import into iMovie.
Frustrating.
Emotionally stunting experience.
Well, I was going to say, if you wanted to know what those cameras are, JD kindly sent us links to the iMovie support pages. We'll stick them in the show notes.
That's a good place for those. So yes, my apologies. We were letting our inherent lack of joy with iMovie and AVC HD color our answer. Hey, you got a burning tech question for us, whether it's actually about burning tech or just a very urgent question, do us a favor and send it in. Tekzilla at revision3.com is the email address, or you can post it on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Tekzilla.
And of course, you can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/TechHD and on Twitter at Tekzilla. You can also check out Robert Heron's Twitter, Patrick Norton, of course, and Veronica, whose place I am taking today. And you can find me on Twitter at TerraLongest. Thanks so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Tara Long.
Until next time, you've been watching Tekzilla. You want to throw it? It's fun.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm afraid I'll break something that
That's
I throw
okay.
it at.
Well, don't throw it at me!
Sorry, I just get so angry sometimes.